I think those buses are getting ready to leave the Gateway International Airport in Polokwane. Let's go back to our colleague Criselda Lewis.
All right, Desiree, the buses have moved now from... Well, Desiree, the buses have moved from the center of the runway there and have moved back to this position, which will be their departure point from here. We're expecting any minute now that these buses will move from the Polokwane International Airport and will obviously head towards the ranch resort where you've been crossing to my colleague Sophie Mokoena from. And we're also just waiting here at the moment. I can count about 3 traffic police vehicles in front of the entrance or the exit that will be used by these particular buses. And we've been waiting, I think, now on the runway where the buses are for about, I think I would say about an hour now. But obviously, they need to ensure that all the luggage and all the belongings of these South Africans are on board one of those buses. And at this stage, Desiree, I can certainly tell you what I've heard from some of my colleagues who are on the other side is that there are some roads that have been affected, of course, as a result of the route that this convoy will take. And at this stage, I think about a few moments ago, I also again managed to speak to one of the family members of the South Africans who have now been repatriated, who are back at home, and they're indicating that they're relieved that all of this has now taken place. And just a few moments ago as well, and she's just actually left, I had a word with the MEC of Health here in Limpopo. And you'd know, of course, that this particular province has not recorded thus far a positive case of the coronavirus. And yesterday, the MEC, Poppy Ramathuba, explaining to me that they've also put all systems in place. In particular, once you saw the confirmed number of cases of the coronavirus had increased to 24. It's basically a situation where they've put all the measures in place to ensure that it remains that way. Containment of the virus, of course, itself is extremely important at this stage. So we're waiting again, Desiree, for the next few moments. We'll get an indication just very shortly once these buses move here from this particular airport. So let me ask my colleague Llewellyn if you could perhaps pan towards my right. He's squeezed in between this particular point here, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to. You'll see those police vehicles right in front of us there. That is part of the police contingent that will lead these buses through this particular route here at the airport in Polokwane, the international airport. So it seems like it's all systems go to have them taken to the place where they will spend 21 days at the ranch resort. And at this stage, I can certainly tell you that all the plans have been put in place to ensure that it is a smooth drive from here to that particular location, which, by the way, Desiree, has been under lockdown since yesterday. From about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, the media was not allowed in that particular area after the last briefing that the Health Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, had given to the media, of course, updating us that there are now 24 cases of the coronavirus in South Africa. We were told to leave that particular area. I must say that the authorities here in Polokwane are working quite well with the media to ensure that we do bring this to the nation. They do understand the role that we have to play here, in that, of course, we were taken to the viewing deck there in order to bring you those live visuals as the aircraft itself was landing. So I also see, you would see there, the men in those white suits, the protective suits. They are still busy at that aircraft. What will happen next? Perhaps that's information information we'll get at a later stage about whether that aircraft will be disinfected, how long it will stay here at the Polokwane International Airport is information we will get at a later stage, but I'm hoping in the next few moments we'll be able to bring you those live visuals as this convoy leaves a very scorching hot Polokwane, Desiree. You know, the weather conditions here are not very wants to shy away from the heat. So in the scorching heat, we're really hoping to bring you all these live visuals. Desiree, I understand that you wanted to ask a few questions.
Well, I just imagine, Criselda, you're talking about the weather in a twisted kind of way. That's a good thing, isn't it? Because this virus is said not to thrive in warm conditions.
Well, Desiree, I was a little bit worried in the beginning, a little bit earlier on this morning. There'd quite been showers here in Polokwane, and I was really wondering how we were going to perform this task. But the sun all of a sudden is really out, and we are expecting this convoy to move any time soon from now. Let's go to my colleague Sophie Mukwena, who's at the ranch where these buses will be headed to. We'll cross to you again, Desiree, once this convoy gets going.
All right, she's not quite at the ranch yet, but let's cross to Sophie Mukwena.
Yeah. You see?
All right, Sophie Mukwena, the last time we spoke to her was on the R101, just waiting to try and follow the trip by the buses. But as you just heard from Criselda, the buses have not quite yet left the Gateway International Airport in Polokwane. I imagine all efforts being put in place to ensure safety as the transportation of all those South Africans who've just returned from Wuhan in China. They've landed this morning. We brought you all of that, the landing, the disembarkment from the aircraft, getting into the bus. Criselda saying there that from a distance she could tell that the occupants of the bus were not sitting next to one another. So I suppose one of those protocols in relation to distances amongst people. I think we're ready to go to Sophie now. Sophie, what's the latest on your side?
Yeah, we are still here at R101. We're waiting for the buses to come through. But we have more people coming, people who want to see and they want to speak to us. Me utlile mona uno utlile mona o aperu ya lifung empa unkile qeto ya hore tlo ema mona o shebelle ibe ho tla ha ma Afrika Borwa ana ka hara naha haholo holo ka hara province ya lona re tlameile ho etsa jwang jwale ka ma Afrika Borwa re tlameile rena mo re tlile o letela dibase je di fetang di rwele batho ba o tshwara ke bolwetse ba corona ha ke lukise mo ha ba ya tshwarwa ke bolwetse ba corona. President Zweli Mkhize letona la bophelo ibile ile doctor le mme wa mona hae e leng doctor ya shebana le tsa bophelo ba re boleletse hore batho bana ha ba ya tshwarwa ke bohloko hobane bane ba kwalletswe ba hlokometswe re tlameile ba bua le bona jwang go bua le bona ke re bua le bona re ba encourage hore ntwa tse wa e hone ka se fihle ka mo South Africa. The thing that I've observed, Desiree, is that a lot of education is needed to educate South Africans about these compatriots because some believe that they do have a virus. Let me speak to another guest. What's your view? Re tlameile ba sheba jwang batho ba?
Re tlameile ba sheba jwale ka batho jwale ka rena. Ka baka la gore ba re file dikeletso mo le mola gore ge bolwetse bo ke ra gore go ikwadika tsa bolwetse bo o direng o tlhape matsogo ka sesepa o se ka wa itshwara sefatlhego gantši
na ibe mohlomong batho ba bophelo bo botle mo Afrika Borwa ba etsa mosebetsi wa bona ho le tsebisa hore le tlameile ho etsa eng jwale ka ma Afrika Borwa ho itshireletsa na mmuso o sebetsa ka matla ho le ruta ka bohloko bo
mmuso ona ba re ruta ka mogare ga di-television re a bona mo di-radiong re a ba utlwa ga bantši ba re bolelela ba re dire so
batho ba bang ba dumela hore batho bana bana le bohloko empa mo president wa naha Ntate Ramaphosa le letona la bophelo bo botle Dr Zweli Mkhize ebile ile ngaka le mme wa hae mona eo ile ngaka ba buile hore batho bana ha bana bohloko ba mpa ba nka fela tsela ya ho etsa hore ba ikgotsofatse hobane kwa China bane ba hlokometswe hantle re tlameile hore rona re etse jwang ka Afrika Borwa ha re ba bona
re tlameile ba tshwara jwale ka bana ba borena re se ke re ba nyenya re ba amogele.
There you have it, Desiree. She is saying that we must take care of our compatriots. We mustn't isolate them or put stigma on them because they come from China and that they are our own, emphasizing that in terms of broadcasters and other media houses, they have learned a lot what this virus is all about, the basics they know, and also admitting that government is doing enough to teach them about the virus. Over to you, Desiree.
Thanks a lot, Sophie, on that update. We also have live footage of the transportation. The buses are already on the road en route to the ranch. 4 buses carrying almost 140 South Africans who've just returned from Wuhan, China. Emphasis put on the fact that all of these returnees are healthy South Africans. Not a single one of them has been affected by the coronavirus. This is in an attempt to ensure that everyone is safe and healthy. Let's go back to Criselda.
Akirki Wano, one must be in front of you. All right, these are live pictures, Desiree, as Hamba Lindo.
Hamba, get in between. Go. Lindo.
All right, these are live pictures as we leave the Polokwane International Airport and the buses that are being used to ferry the South Africans who were evacuated from the Wuhan city in China, finally making their way to the ranch resort where they will be quarantined for 21 days.
We don't know where we are going.
All right, we're just about exiting the international airport at the moment. So we're hoping that police will be able to lead the direction for us here at the moment. They were kind enough, Desiree, to allow us in front of this convoy, so we're able to bring you this I would honestly describe it as a momentous occasion. And, you know, I must say we have been reiterating, Desiree, that this sort of reminds us of a time where South Africa had to repatriate bodies from Nigeria. And recall at the time, those were obviously South Africans who had departed, but very different in this particular aspect where you have South Africans who have been at the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak, who are now touching down on South African soil, and for a precautionary measure they are being quarantined for 21 days at the ranch resort here just a few kilometers outside outside Polokwane. So you'll see where we're sitting here at the moment, moving with this. We're trying to hold on as much as possible. So you'll see towards that direction my colleague Llewellyn Carstens there bringing us these live visuals. You'd see three police vehicles, in fact, leading that convoy, and the buses, of course, right there at the back. I managed to just catch a glimpse there of the citizens who are on those buses, obviously looking in awe as the media is here to capture this particular moment. So, Desiree, live pictures. If you've just joined us here on the channel, these are live pictures from outside now the Polokwane International Airport, where we are now headed to the ranch resort. And remember, Desiree, that zone has a complete lockout, and we are not going to be able at all to move anywhere from where we have been. This particular road itself is going to be closed. I'm going to ask my colleague to slow down there a bit so that we don't lose this convoy. And you would see this road where we are, Desiree, is the one, the R101 here in, there you have it, the bus is now making that turn just at the back of us. And it will be about, say, I think 21 kilometers before we reach that final destination. And I know that at that particular spot, you have the military health service that is waiting there, as well as other officials from the South African National Defence Force. And remember the staff as well, very important. The Health Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, had also had a discussion with the staff there about what their participation would be in all of this. So they seemed to have been allayed in terms of their fears on exactly what their participation would be. They asked questions about their health, if they at a later stage felt ill, what role government will play pertaining to ensuring their safety in the first instance. They will also wear protective gear at the ranch resort. So at this time, I think they're quite satisfied with the information that they have been given by government about how safe exactly they will be at the ranch resort. All right, you can stay on our visuals here as we proceed. All right, Desiree, I will allow you some engagement with me as the wind is quite strong here at the moment.
Griselda, Sophie has taken some time to engage with citizens in Limpopo about their feelings about this arrival and the quarantine zone being located in their province. What sense have you gotten since you got there? From the strength of the wind, as she just indicated, Griselda is not able to hear us clearly at the moment. But there you have it, albeit a bit shaky, but those are live visuals coming to you from the R101 en route to the ranch, the South African quarantine zone for these over 140 South Africans arriving in South Africa this morning around 10 a.m. from Wuhan City in China, now arriving in South Africa for a 21-day quarantine period. As Griselda indicated earlier, some families had already called her to say they were quite relieved that their family members had already made their way to that country, but that arrival, of course, not much celebrated because they will not be seeing them for the next 21 days. Griselda, just give us a sense of how the people in Limpopo are feeling about this arrival, if you've had any opportunity to interact with them.
Desiree, thank you very much for coming back to us. Thank you very much, Desiree, for coming back to us as we try to stay with the convoy here on the N1 now, as we head towards the ranch resort, moving quite fast in front of the convoy, of course, which is ferrying these South Africans to their 21-day quarantine spot. And you forgive me from where I am at the moment, Desiree, at the back of this particular vehicle, where you would know there was so much anticipation over the past couple of weeks, where many were asking questions about when exactly the South Africans will be coming back. They are here now. We're just well ahead of the convoy now. Just bear with us as they try to catch up with us. We're trying to stay ahead of the traffic at the moment. But what I can certainly tell you is that when they arrive at that destination, there's enough military health service that is on waiting for them there, and they will go through the necessary screening procedures. And once that happens, they will need to satisfy themselves once again, now that the South Africans have arrived on home soil, that they are well. There are a series of screening processes once again, which I understand will take place. And I know for a fact at this point that South Africa still has its eyes set on this particular project. What will be very interesting to note, Desiree, is that while the Health Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, meets with some members of the church to allay their fears over the arrival of these South Africans from Wuhan City, you would see right there, let me just break that, Desiree, some of the traffic being brought to a standstill there on the other side to allow for our convoy to pass through here. And you'd see there the police from here in the traffic police here in Limpopo have stopped that traffic to allow for this convoy to go through at this point. You'd see right there.
Oh my word.
That way. That way. All right. All right, Desiree, we're just going to head towards another direction at the moment because they seem to be deviating towards another location now. We're going to ask our colleague Llewellyn Costons. As you can see, here you have those buses now moving towards that direction. Desiree, I'm hoping you're still able to hear me. We'll just move much closer to them there. All right, we're going to try and get move once again. There you have it. You see, every single one of them is wearing protective gear in that particular bus. The officials that were also dealing with these South Africans when they arrived are also now wearing protective gear. This is the closest, Desiree, that we have been to the actual buses, where you will see that every single one of those South Africans who was evacuated has protective gear on them. They are wearing those white coats, the protective gear, as well as some of those masks, every single one of them that is on those buses. We're going to try and get ahead of this pack once again, Desiree. Just to bear with us, but I'm sure you can still see our visuals from where we are. And I would imagine perhaps now we would be about, say, 15 minutes away from our final destination. And we'll try to get ahead of this team. We'll try to get ahead of this team right now, and we're hoping that the police would obviously be able to give us some leeway on this quite difficult, Desiree, to broadcast from where we are here at the moment. But what I can certainly tell you is that we are well on our way now to the ranch resort, where the South Africans will be quarantined for the next 21 days. So, Desiree, lots of traffic.
There's no point.
All right, Desiree, we're going to come back to you very shortly. We'll stay on those visuals. You'll still see the convoy just ahead of us and those buses. So we will continue to stay live on these visuals.
Well, there you have it. You can count on Griselda Lewis at any time to bring you that story. And I'm sure you will agree with me that she made all efforts possible. We're following those 4 buses ferrying the Wuhan returnees, just returned, touched down in South Africa at the Gateway International Airport in Polokwane around 10 a.m. this morning. Several protocols taken to ensure that everything is done according to script in terms of the disembarkment from the plane into the buses. Griselda Lewis reporting earlier that from a glance she could tell that even in the buses, the people, the occupants, were sitting quite a distance from one another, especially because all of the occupants at this stage are confirmed to be COVID-19 negative. So none of the occupants have been affected, and I imagine you want to keep it that way. They will be kept at the ranch for the next 21 days while they're being monitored in terms of symptoms, as health officials and the Department of Health has repeatedly indicated that the virus incubates for about 10 days before symptoms start to present. Therefore, these returnees from Wuhan, South Africans returning from Wuhan, different ones left for different reasons, some to study, others for work opportunities, now having to return home as the whole world observes protocols that are being followed in relation to COVID-19, with over 137,000 cases now having been registered worldwide. Growing drastic measures being put in place to avoid further infections, especially as we're starting to hear from China that the infections are starting to taper down. That's the big story here in South Africa today. South Africans returning from Wuhan. We're following that journey. Our colleagues Sophie Mokoena, foreign editor here at the SABC, and Griselda Lewis bringing us that story. Let's go back to Griselda now. Griselda, what's the latest?
All right, Desiree, I think we're about perhaps 10 minutes away now from our final destination, which of course is the Ranch Resort. You would see a large police contingent here escorting this convoy. This part of the road has been closed. We're going to try and get you much closer to where we had initially been. Obviously, right now we're trying to maneuver between some of these police vehicles here and of course the rest of the convoy that is accompanying these South Africans to the quarantine zone for 21 days. Let me just describe to you a bit the Ranch Resort there, Desiree. There are about over 100 rooms there which will accommodate them, and previously at that location, Desiree, I have stayed at the Ranch Resort before. Quite comfortable, spacious, and what would seem to be what the health minister described as the best suitable place for these South Africans to stay. At this stage, that particular place is under lockdown. The military is in complete control of that particular area. You would have the police, the military inside and in the parameter around that resort, which is quite a number of hectares. You will have the South African Police Service. When we had arrived in Polokwane just earlier on this week, there had already been a roadblock there and a lot of checks that were taking place, a lot of asking about where we were going, what we were there to do. But fortunately at the time, the media had been invited to a press briefing by the Health Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, and that's when we were given a bit of a leeway inside the Ranch Resort to see exactly what it looks like. So very strict protocol there. You aren't able to go through any of that particular area without indicating. I mean, some of the staff, according to my knowledge, Desiree, I know that some of the staff have been asked to sign confidentiality agreements. I think what they're trying to mitigate is any leak of information. Not that there's anything to hide, but of course, the central point of communication about what is taking place, I guess the Interministerial Committee as well as the Health Department and everyone concerned with this evacuation in government would want to ensure that there's a centralization of information about exactly what is taking place. You'd see here the traffic also brought to a standstill here towards my left, Desiree, and that obviously indicating that there's a part that has a route that has been set aside for this particular convoy, so that there is very little interruption between here and the place where we need to go. So we're going to try and get to the other side of this convoy, and both these lanes here obviously are closed at this stage, and it will be reopened obviously once we pass. So with the police, of course, are trying to ensure that we're also try to do our best here to try and get the best coverage to you there, Desiree. It's exceptionally difficult on this part that we're traveling here at the moment because you have the police that are here in front of us. They're just doing their jobs, of course, and we're trying to get right back to the front once again to see if we're able to bring you much clearer visuals on that. So a mammoth task that we're also embarking on here, Desiree, bringing you, of course, live visuals of this convoy of the South Africans who were repatriated from Wuhan city in China, headed to the quarantine zone for 21